The lady who was talking and laughing just now turned around and jumped into the river. Fortunately, the second sister next to her was quick and grabbed her belt. The woman said she saw her husband Wang Dachui at the bottom of the river and insisted on saving him. But when they looked into the water, there was no one, thinking the woman was seeing things. While they were talking about it, the boatman said it was a water ghost looking for a substitute. He said that and sped up the boat, and soon passed the water area, just as everyone thought it was over. But the eldest sister suddenly jumped into the river. The second sister tried to pull her, but it was too late. They saw the eldest sister was dragged by a shadow, was quickly dragged to the bottom. Wang Dachui hired several corpse divers, but they couldn't find the body for many days. The same thing has happened 3 times in the village, but the bodies could not be found. Finally, there was no other way. He went to the mountain to ask the old smoker for help. After listening to this, asked Wang Dachui to get a dozen watermelons and a bag of lime. And then he went to the incident site with the boatman. The old smoker asked Dachui to throw all the watermelons into the water, and asked him to watch which watermelons sank. The water ghost was hiding in a bag of cigarettes. Dachui saw several watermelons sink. The old smoker asked people to use lime to circle that area. Soon a dark shadow emerged from the bottom of the boat and turned back when it touched the area covered with lime. The old smoker took the chance to shoot. The bullet was a homemade lead beam with great power, which directly shattered half of the shadow's body. But just as the old smoker was reloading, the shadow disappeared. The old smoker was startled. He reminded them the water ghost was under the boat. Before he finished speaking, he felt the boat shake violently and was then pushed up by a force. They lost their balance and fell into the water. Before falling into the water, Liao Yanhu saw the position of the black shadow in the air, thinking that he couldn't swim. If he fell into the river, he would be at the mercy of the water ghost. He thought he would die with a companion. Just before he fell into the water, he fired a shot. Fortunately, the shot hit the water ghost in the head. Then the old smoker also fell into the river. The smoker who couldn't swim choked on water several times and passed out. Dachui and the boatman could swim. After floating up, they saw the corpses of several people who drowned in the village. Shortly after, the boatman also found the old smoker nearby. Liao Yanhu could float up, thanks to the wine gourd on his waist. It was his destiny. Then the smoker was carried to the village chief's house. After some efforts, and finally made the smoker spit out the water in his stomach, out of his stomach. As soon as he woke up, the old smoker asked about the water ghost. He was still worried after knowing he was dead. He asked someone to help him to the yard to see. He lifted the straw mat, and under it was a skeleton wrapped in aquatic plants. It seemed that he was a poor man who died in the river. The old smoker told the village chief, and then went home after burning the body. At the old smoker's house on the mountain, his wife has reheated the meal several times, but he still hadn't come back. She was just thinking about it. The door creaked open. Liao Yanhu came back. As soon as he entered, the smoker boasted about his ability. He had rid the world of a monster. His wife didn't like his bragging and reminded him not to forget how his eye went blind. This man followed his friend to see what he was doing, but he didn't expect to meet a ghost and saw his friend hang himself. When he was young, the smoker made a bet with his friend. If he could sleep in a haunted house, he would win a bottle of liquor and a chicken leg. That night, Liao Yanhu and his friend Li Zhongping stayed in the haunted house. To embolden themselves, they talked about everything, including ideals, and fell asleep while chatting. In the middle of the night, the smoker fell asleep. He heard the door open, which made him shiver. He got up and looked. He saw Li Zhongping walking out. Liao Yanhu thought he got up to pee, but he didn't respond when he called a few times, so he picked up his shotgun and followed him. He saw Li Zhongping look dull, with his eyes rolled up, without any energy. The old smoker thought Li Zhongping was sleepwalking, so he followed him closely and wanted to see where he was going. Li Zhongping staggered and walked into the room where someone was hanged, then picked up a hemp rope in the corner, stepped on a stool, and hung the hemp rope on the beam. Then he put his neck into the noose. When the old smoker saw Li Zhongping put the noose around his neck, He realized that this is not sleepwalking. This was obviously being bewitched by a ghost. Seeing that something was wrong, he quickly went up and hugged Li Zhongping's leg and pulled him up. But at this moment, a sinister voice came from behind him. "He wants to accompany me." The sudden voice made the old smoker tremble and turned around to see a woman with disheveled hair. The woman said and laughed, revealing a face without eyes. The old smoker immediately realized, isn't this the hanged ghost in the legendary haunted house? He quickly picked up the gun on the ground and aimed at her. "I'll shoot you today." But he tried several times, but failed to pull the trigger. The woman waved her hand. The gun in the old smoker's hand flew out. The smoker was eager to save his friend. He wanted to pounce on the female ghost in hand-to-hand combat, but found that his body couldn't move. Only his eyes and mouth could move. He glanced at Li Zhongping on the rope with his peripheral vision. He found that Li Zhongping's face was almost green and was about to die. The old smoker could only beg the ghost to let Ji Yao go. The ghost said she could let Ji Yao go, but Liuyan had to poke out his own eyes. The old smoker held the wooden scorpion several times. Couldn't do it. The female ghost kept reminding him, "If you don't act, your best friend will really die." The smoker glanced at Li Zhongping and saw his face was livid and was about to die. The smoker didn't want his friend to die, so he gritted his teeth and raised the wood to stab it into his eye. The piercing pain and made the smoker's body regain consciousness, but his mind gradually became blurred. He looked at the female ghost, didn't seem to let go of his friend. He hurriedly picked up the gun on the ground and fired a shot at the ghost in a daze, then passed out. When he woke up again, the first thing he saw was the broken hemp rope hanging from the beam, while his best friend Li Zhongping was dead beside him. The smoker held Li Zhongping's body and cried bitterly, regretting that he shouldn't have gambled and killed his friend. It was more than 10 days before he could get out of bed. He couldn't attend his friend's funeral. After getting out of bed, the first thing he did was to visit Li Zhongping's grave. He brought the roast chicken and white wine he bought, talking to the tombstone, as if sharing the joy of victory with his best friend. From that day on, the old smoker talked less and became inseparable from cigarettes and alcohol. The wife saw that the smoker remembered the past again, so she comforted him. She comforted him that they would go to Li Zhongping's grave. The old couple went home to visit relatives across mountains, but a grumpy old lady suddenly appeared. The old lady couldn't beat them, so she directly showed her true form. The old smoker and his wife were going home, but it started to rain heavily halfway up the mountain, so they had to take shelter in a cave. Not long after, they saw a person walking towards them. When they looked at the entrance, they found it was an old lady. The road was slippery. The old lady was unstable on her feet and accidentally fell down. In the heavy rain, the old smoker hurried out to help. The old lady looked to be 70 or 80 years old. The smoker was curious. How could she walk alone on the mountain road at her age? The old lady said she was going to visit her daughter, but it started to rain halfway. When the rain stopped, the smoker was anxious to go home, so he wanted to contact her family to pick her up. But the old lady kept persuading the old smoker not to go any further, otherwise they wouldn't be able to go back. The old smoker and his wife thought the old lady was odd, so they left alone. But after walking for a while, they found the old lady had been following them. They tried to shake her off. They deliberately sped up, but the old lady behind them looked old and weak. But now she was very agile. The old smoker panicked. They thought they had encountered something dirty. They went home to visit relatives without a shotgun, so they could only run faster. No matter how fast the old couple walked, the old lady could always keep up. Finally, when they turned a mountain bend, the old lady disappeared. The old smoker felt relieved. He thought he had escaped. But when he was about to continue walking, he found that the old lady had somehow run ahead. She was sitting on a stone by the roadside, staring at them straight. The old smoker was anxious. He rushed up and shouted at the old lady, "We helped you kindly, but you scare us like this. What do you want?" The old lady didn't say why, but just told them not to go any further. The smoker was anxious. They quarreled at home. After a while, the old lady seemed to be angry. Her eyes suddenly widened and turned into a green-faced, fanged appearance. The old smoker saw that he was indeed haunted. They were scared and kept backing away. Just when the old smoker didn't know what to do, he felt the ground shaking under his feet and the mountain roared. He quickly looked down the mountain. He saw a huge wave at the foot of the mountain. The river was carrying trees, stones, and sprayed down. The old smoker reacted. If the long-haired old lady hadn't stopped them, they would have been killed by now. When he wanted to thank the old lady, he found that the old lady had disappeared. The old smoker understood that someone deliberately came to save them. He bowed and saluted in the woods. He wanted to know which immortal had saved him. The voice of the old lady came from the woods. She said the old smoker had saved her daughter, so she came to repay him today. Because the secret cannot be revealed, so she could only try to stop them. Hearing this, he understood. This fairy was the one who gave birth to 4 little ones with his wife. Doing good deeds leads to good results. Seeing that they couldn't get through, so they decided to go to a nearby village to find friends and leave the next day. Is this old man a Conan-like person? Everywhere he goes, someone dies. It's hard for the old smoker to go home. It was really harder than Tang Priest's journey to the west. First, they encountered a flood on the road, but luckily he was saved by the fairy. When he stayed at his friend's house, he encountered the jumping monster and the yellow skin. When he was about to reach home, the big turtle in the river came out to make trouble. The old man had no choice but to subdue it. He fought monsters and upgraded and finally returned to the village. When having a banquet at the village chief's house, everyone came to toast and kept drinking until midnight. Liao Yanye got drunk and made half of the village drunk. Just as everyone was staggering, a man came in through the door. This person seemed to have a cattle phobia and sat down to eat and drink. After a few glasses of Lao Chengju, he felt a bit tipsy. A tail suddenly grew out of his butt. After eating and drinking, he wobbled away. Lao Yanye saw that. He thought the strange thing was drunk and left. He followed him to see what kind of strange guy it was. The old smoker followed the strange man all the way and entered an unoccupied, dilapidated house. There was nothing in the room, but the strange man just disappeared. Liao Yanye found that there was something wrong with a pile of straw. He moved it and found a big hole. With the courage of alcohol, he slipped in. After zigzagging, he finally reached an open space. He looked up. There was a miniature village in the cave. There were densely packed mice inside. These mice are just like humans and went in and out in an orderly manner. The old man was scared awake by the wine and turned around and ran out. The mice chased after him when they found him. It took a lot of effort to finally return to the cave. Lao Yanye ran all the way back to call for help. He shouted loudly as soon as he entered the yard. "Don't sleep, there are rats." The villagers heard that there was a rat village below. They all followed Lao Yanye to catch the mice. They lit a fire at the mouse hole and prepared to smoke out the mice. As a result, the whole village was filled with smoke. It turned out that the mouse hole was directly connected to each house. The mice, choked by the smoke, ran around everywhere. The villagers were even more excited. When the smoke stopped coming out of the hole, Lao Yanye led people down into the hole. Those who came down couldn't help but exclaim, there was indeed a mouse village underground. Are the mice becoming demons? When they reached the end, they saw grain piles like small hills. They said the village had been losing food recently. It turned out that the mice had stolen it here. The villagers quickly transported the grain out. But in the end, Lao Yanye didn't find the strange man with a tail. Lao Yanye thought he drank too much that day, so he didn't take it seriously. But this unlucky old smoker didn't know he had already caused a big trouble. The old man was so tired that he just fell asleep. His wife shook him awake. She heard someone talking in the room. The old man comforted her that it might be poor soundproofing and continued to sleep, but within a few minutes of falling asleep, the old man saw 2 figures walking towards him. And then he passed out. The old smoker hadn't been home for many years. He came back and cleaned the house. At night, the old couple who were tired all day fell asleep early. But halfway through, the old man was shaken awake by his wife, saying she heard voices in the room. The old man thought his wife was sleepwalking. He comforted her and lay down again. But not long after lying down, the old man also heard someone talking. "We live here peacefully. How could they move in? It seems that we have to find another place. No, we're used to living here. We have to get them out." Lao Yanya heard clearly. It turned out that something had occupied his house, and now they want to drive the owner away. This is really intolerable. Lao Yanya wanted to get up and see who is so arrogant, but found that he couldn't move his body. Only then did he realize that he had been tricked. He caught a glimpse of two shadows walked to the edge of the kang. One was fat and the other was thin, and he couldn't see their faces. When they came closer, Lao Yan lost consciousness. When he woke up, he found it was already dawn, and he and his wife were sleeping in the yard. And his wife was sneezing from the cold. Lao Yanye probably knew what happened. He asked his wife to stay at the village chief's house, and he would clean the house again at night. After sending his wife away, Lao Yanye first picked a haystack at home, and then dumped the brick pile. But he searched the yard thoroughly, but found nothing alive. He searched the yard and the house. Sure enough, he found a hole behind the barn's cabinet. There was a litter of baby hedgehogs. The old man put the hedgehogs in a large jar, covered the lid, and pressed a stone on top. Then he leaned against the wall and lit a dry tobacco pipe. He waited quietly. What night? Lao Yanye fell asleep waiting. He was drowsy and heard someone talking. He opened his eyes. There was a man and a woman standing in front of him. The man had a crew cut, and the woman had an airbang, and looked quite fashionable. The two of them immediately questioned why they arrested their child. Lao Yanya didn't say a word. He directly fired a shot into the ground to teach them a lesson. Sure enough, fists are the truth. The man spoke in a low voice, and his attitude became better. Lao Yanye told them that this was his home. Not only did they come uninvited, but also carried the host out in the middle of the night. There is no such thing in the world. After a few words, leaving the couple speechless. After thinking for a long time, they surrendered to the shotgun. Lao Yanye removed the big rock and released the little hedgehogs. When the couple held the child and were about to find a new place to live, Lao Yanye thought the house was empty anyway, so he decided to do a good deed. Since then, the four have lived in the old smoker's house. It was this decision that saved the old smoker countless times. The big rat wanted to eat the cat's offerings alone, but was caught by the cat. Natural bloodline suppression. The big rat was scared to death on the spot. This was not an ordinary cat-catching mouse. Even the owner of the house could only hide on the roof and watch secretly. Saidu told Lao Yanye last time's rat spirit was coming to take revenge, so he went to the Meow Meow temple on the mountain and asked a bald old cat to help. He set up the cat's favorite Shoku and Wushao at home. Then he took his wife to find a perfect view to watch the show. That night, the big mouse really came. Although it didn't find Lao Yanye, but saw the offerings on the table. Just as he was about to eat, a bald, fat old man walked in behind him. The rat spirit was naturally suppressed by him. When it saw the fat old man, it trembled with fear. With a puff, it turned into a big mouse and jumped on the wall to run away. The fat old man meowed and immediately turned into a big cat and chased after it. Before jumping over the wall, the cat pressed the big mouse under its paw with a paw and bit off the rat's tail. The rat was in pain and fled in a hurry. The cat didn't continue to chase after biting off the rat's tail. Jumping down from the wall, it turned into a fat old man again. It came to the offering and ate it up, and ate all the leeks, and left the rat's tail behind and left gracefully. A real man never looks back. Old Smoke picked up the rat tail on the table and sighed that he had escaped another disaster. The next day, the old smoker heard many people in the village say that their horses were lost. After asking the troublemaker, he had an idea. He has heard of human kidnapping, but it was the first time he heard of horse kidnapping. Oh no! It should be called a horse dealer. He took the rat tail and made a whip. At night, he took the whip and went out to catch the horse thief. He climbed onto the roof and waited for something until the middle of the night. A chestnut horse ran into the village at a gallop. The horse was very tall, and its eyes were red, and its nose was steaming white. I heard from C2 this horse was originally a wild horse in the mountains, but accidentally ate some spiritual herb ginseng, so it turned into this. It even became psychic. It can travel 1,800 miles at night. Lao Yanya followed the big red horse and arrived at Huang Dachui's house. He found the big red horse was seducing the little yellow horse. After the two horses exchanged the coat at the door, the little yellow horse opened the door bolt and ran out. Lao Yanya seized the opportunity and jumped directly on the big red horse. On the back of the horse. The horse was frightened and kept spinning and jumping and spun and jumped, spinning and jumping, trying to throw off the old man. Lao Yanya tightly clamped the horse's belly, and his legs were about to cramp. He whipped the horse with a small whip on its butt. The red horse ran forward in pain, carrying the old man out of the village, and ran for more than 10 miles before stopping. The old man looked up. There were dozens of horses grazing in the distance, which were the missing animals of the villagers. He thought this little animal could really pull the duck. Could it be a pyramid scheme? Lao Yanya took a break. He waved his whip and drove the red horse towards the village. Sure enough, the horses followed behind. Lao Yanya was happy. Not only found the lost horses for the villagers, but also unexpectedly tamed a fine horse.